creating a virtual network. So this one is going to give you an idea how do you create a virtual network. Followed by that, once you create a virtual network, how do you connect between two servers within a network? So the lab includes creation of virtual network and then creation of a, let's say, two virtual machines on the virtual network, VM1 and VM2, let's say, two VMs. Then to one of the VM will connect and we'll try to ping to another VM from one VM, and you can see if in case it will work for you, which you will understand now, which I'm going to show you. Now, first thing, let's create a virtual network and then we can create virtual machines on top of it. So to make it simple, if I go to 3 lines and resource groups, VM-RG, if you see, when you created this virtual machine in the first demo, see it got a virtual network created as well, which means you should understand a virtual machine gets created on a virtual network. That's the default aspect. So I'll now show you that individually, how do you create a virtual network and how do you deploy servers in it, and if two servers belong to same network, can they interconnect or not, is what we are going to understand. So Divya, you don't need to stop manually, you have choices. But yes, by default, a container gets stopped if it is going to be something like a piece of program or anything. In case it's a stateful website or anything, then it could be running all the time. So you don't have to stop it or start it. So it depends on type of application. Let's create a virtual network now. You're welcome, Divya. We'll go to create a resource. Now to create a virtual network, you can search in the search box as virtual network. See virtual network you get. I'll click on create button to create the virtual network here. Now same subscription. Now resource group, I'll create new one because I don't want to club the components with the existing resource group. So I'll say create new, name it as vnet-rg, virtual network resource group, and I'll click OK. Name of this one, I'll say vnet, virtual network itself, I'll name it. Now note this, I like to create my VM in EastUS on this virtual network, which means your virtual network should also be in EastUS. Making it simple, you cannot have a virtual machine in different data center and a virtual network in different data center. So that's why I'm just creating a virtual network, which will be in EastUS, so I can create a VM on it. I click next. This is where you can define the virtual network IP address range, which is already defined, where it has 65,536 private IP addresses you will get, in which there is a subnet named default subnet. So if you don't know these are networking components. A virtual network will have sub-components called subnet in which you can create your resources. Now why I'm showing this? I'm going to complete creation of this virtual network. Then in this virtual network, I'll create two VMs, which will be on the same subnet, which means in the same network. Then we'll test if the servers can cross connect to each other. So that's what we're going to do. So you can click review plus create, which makes a final validation, and click create button, and it could create a virtual network for you, a private network in Azure. So that's what this is about. I mean, whatever I'm doing now, you can find in here, clear steps for everything you have in here. So you don't have to worry. Now you are creating a private network in Azure, and you will deploy a couple of servers in the private network to see if servers that belong to same network can securely cross connect to each other within the Azure environment without having any public IPs and all these kind of things. See, the bell icon says deployment is successful, and here it is, go to resource. If in case I click it, see the service name virtual network with the Azure provided DNS servers, that is for private IP, the Azure is giving the DNS servers which has these IP addresses. Now I'm going to create virtual machines, not one but two VMs on the same network, and see if they can cross connect to each other without public internet. Within the EastUS data center, VM1 and VM2 should cross connect to each other by using the internal Azure network. Let's see this. I'll go to 3 lines in top left corner to create a VM on this virtual network named VNet. So I'll go to 3 lines in top left corner, create a resource. We'll repeat same process, Windows Server 2016 data center. The previously created VM, same thing I'll repeat. Now resource group, this time I'll not create a new resource group. I'll click the drop down. So VNet-RG, that's where I created my previous virtual network. We'll pick this one. Virtual machine name VM1, I'll name it. First VM it is, so I'll name it VM1. Make sure data center is East US because that's where your virtual network is. I'll go down. I'll not change anything. A valid username and a valid password I'll give now. So valid username, a valid password like earlier. That's it. I'll not do any more changes. I don't want to whitelist RDP port for now because, HTTP port now because it's not needed. I'll go to next menu. The disk menu, I'll leave it empty. I'll go to next, the networking menu. So this is important. That's why I'm coming to next steps to show you. So networking, you can see your VNet, which you created manually in the previous step, you can see. Subnet, the subnet name default that was manually created, I'm picking that one. Which means now you have your virtual machine that is getting created on the following virtual network and subnet, which is ready. We can now click review plus create, just showing you that your VM is getting created on your virtual network and your subnet. So validation is passed now. I'll click the create button and you can see now this will create a virtual machine for us. So let's wait for the same. So while the first VM is under deployment, let's create the second VM as well. So I'll go to again 3 lines, create a resource, same Windows Server 2016 data center, the same virtual machine we can go with. Now this time as well, same subscription and same VNet-RG will go. Virtual machine name VM2 we can name it. Virtual machine 2. Now a valid username and password once again without changing any other details. I'll click next. Next, the networking menu once more you can see same VNet and same subnet name default we are using. Let's again click the review plus create button. Now the validation is getting successful. I'll click create for the second VM as well. You created a VM in the first lab. If you have to connect VM to newly created 2 VMs, then you should create a peer between them. That's correct, Matthias. Either you can peer them. So since they are in the same data center, peering is a best practice. Or for any compliance you have, then you can use a VPN gateway. I think peering is sufficient. So yes, you should peer. Ravi, to connect VMs in 2 different regions, you can use a VPN gateway, virtual private network gateway that we discussed. You can create that in 2 subnets of 2 different regions where the VMs are, and you can connect them to each other. Welcome. Now note this, my second VM is also about to get completed now. Meanwhile, in the top left corner, I'll go to 3 lines and I'll go to virtual machines menu. So I remember the first VM was successfully deployed in the bell icon. See? So VM1 I have. Let me try to get into this. So in VM1, again like earlier, I'll choose connect, RDP. Same like what I did in the beginning. I'll download the RDP file to make a remote desktop connection to this VM. I'm connecting to VM1. Meanwhile, VM2 is also deployed now, but we are not going to connect to VM2. I'm just showing you this thing. Let's get into VM1 first. Server, you can save that, but your public IP of the VM must be static IP. By default, it is dynamic, which means every time you stop and start your VM, the IP gets changed. So if you make the public IP static, yes, you can save it. So if you see in my computer, I have this VS, VM, and RDP file. It's common for me all the time. So I use the same file to connect to my VM since I made this IP of my VM as static. So if it is static, definitely you can do. You should convert or change the IP to static mode. You're welcome. Now see this, guys, I'm in the VM number 1. This is virtual machine 1 to which I made RDP. So I'll close the server manager in it. Now I'm just trying to make a small check if my VM1 can access VM2. And to make it clear, VM1 is also deployed and VM2 is also successfully deployed. Both are now ready and they are available. See? Now I'm in VM1, which was already connected into this one. I'll go to start in VM1. Windows PowerShell, I'll just open this one as an admin. So more, I'll go to more and run as administrator. Let me make a ping request. Ping VM2, virtual machine 2. Now you see, when I made a ping request, it is capable of reaching to VM number 2 through the IP, which is 10.1.0.5. What is this IP? So for VM2, if you see, it has a private IP. You can see here 10.1.0.5. So this is capable of finding my VM2 and pinging it. When my ping was successful to VM2, makes it clear that both my servers are in same network and capable of getting connected with the private IP rather than using public IP. So that's a clear-cut information that within a virtual network, servers can interconnect. So that's a completion of the last demo, which is about creating a virtual network and connecting two servers that are in same network. Any more questions from anyone until this part?
Will the recording be available to people that have
Yes.
this as bonus?
Yes, it will be available to you. You can
Yeah, because
get it within
because the
12
one of
hours.
because the one of yesterday I don't have it.
Mhm. The recordings will be available in your K2N website. So wherever you're registered for the course, in the same place you can find it. I think the team, they can help you with this. Rohit, you can please share the details in the chat where they can find the recordings of the session.
Yeah, but
You'll get the details.
for me primarily, this course is a bonus for me. I didn't primarily register for this. I registered for uh, Kubernetes administration.
Mhm. Then you will be getting your thing directly in there, which means in the same Kubernetes administrator course, your recording will be available for this.
Okay, because I didn't see the one for yesterday. That's why I said let me ask.
Mhm. Just in case, if in case you don't get it, feel free to just mention in the WhatsApp group. The team will help you.
Okay.
How have you set up RDP client? Gyan, the RDP client is something that is available here. You can go to your VM, choose connect, select RDP. There you can directly download the RDP client by clicking this download RDP file. This is how you get this. I have a question on the image from previous lab. Where is the image stored? Yes, Matej, in this scenario, the image is in Docker Hub. The given scenario, it pulled the image from Docker Hub. If you want, you can, in this example, it is like that, but you can keep it in Azure Container Registry or wherever you prefer. Ravi, he was speaking about the Kubernetes session that they have attended, so you don't have to worry on that. Can you explain on high level on how Kubernetes cluster and these will interconnected? Divya, I think let me first complete the labs. First, let me complete that. Then maybe I can just give you an insight on it. I don't want to, miss the labs. Let me first complete that. Then if I have time, I'll explain that. Okay, now let's go back to the next demo. Creating a blob storage.